Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Raising Our Gifted Children. Lesia Kohut is my beautiful guest today, where we're going to be talking about the generation that is coming up, the generation that is here today, that embracement of the beautiful souls, the divine spirits, because they are our future leaders. How can we nurture them and guide them and show them how to actually embrace that in this world today? I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and I bring you these shows because I know there's such awesome people out there that are out there making a difference. They're doing something that helps us on our journey of life, and that is in the raising of our children as well. There's a lot of confusion out there today with our kids. You know, yes, they're stuck on these things all the time. You can't even have a conversation anymore. It's texting with them. So how do we bring them to their beautiful spirit and soul within and bring that out? Do we have to actually text them to reach them? So let's find out how we can ignite that soul, that spirit, open up their minds to that beautiful divine presence that's already innately in them and set them free. Welcome to the show, love.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So it's a lovely topic whenever we talk about our kids, and you know, my kids are 29 to 35, and they'll always be my kids, my babies. It doesn't matter how old they get. But it's quite interesting watching the different generations now, isn't it? The society's tools, you know, the technologies that have changed things, but also more to the openness of conversation when it is around soul and spirit and open minds. Our kids today are subject and open to so much information, but it's how do we channel that right information to them?
You know, it's funny. Just when you said information, my brain kind of did a little automatic translation, and I actually heard the word inflammation, and it made me think that sort of where to begin. And I am fortunate enough to be the parent of a 13-year-old girl, Milana, who is really my teacher and my inspiration. I am of the belief that she chose us as parents, and that even though we may feed her, we may clothe her, we may pay for school and supplies and any kind of resources that she may need to live from day to day, that really she is here to show us how to live our purpose, live our truth, and how to basically sort of trust and just surrender to life on a daily moment-to-moment basis without allowing all of this information and opinions that they're being bombarded with, that we're being bombarded with, which kind of can cause these sort of inflammatory responses, if you will, kind of like our physical bodies can have happened to us, because younger kids and young adults, I am finding, are just so much more tuned into who they are and what their connection is to everyone and everything. And it's something that I think that we all at some point are very aware of, and a lot of times when we're younger, but then as we get older, as we grow, as we go through school, as we get sort of influenced by our environment and those around us, and nowadays media, films, movies, commercials, ads, marketing, advertising, what have you, that it can be very, very challenging to sort of stay in that alignment, stay mindful, stay focused, and not get sucked into everything that is going on around us. So I think it is just so amazing to be around youth and to really sort of pay attention to what they have to offer, because I think they're being so truthful and so honest about it. And even those who may come across as sort of a little more gruff or rough around the edges, it's just it's maybe because they're not able to articulate it as well as some of the other ones, but that truth, that honesty, that simplicity, that power that is at the very core of each and every one of us is always, always there.
Yeah. And that's the thing is when you actually get into a conversation with you, I've interviewed a couple of them, 9 and 10-year-olds. The 9-year-old had written a book, 365 days of gratitude with a positive attitude.
The other day.
Right. And like, didn't it surprise you how simply articulate she was? She didn't have to go off on a tangent or highfalutin. It's just the simple thing she said kind of brought us back to, why do we complicate things so much? It really is quite simple when you look at it. So you're right that kids have got so much to teach us. And I think in my generation, adults, spoke down to the children, and there wasn't a conversation. It was more of a dictation. Yeah. And now what we're looking at between parenting and even raising our kids in school is the conversation. Yeah. And we are learning from that conversation, and they're being inspired by our response to it.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I consider it engagement,
yes.
Where I can very much relate to when I was growing up, and I love my parents, and I had a good life with challenges, as we all do in different ways. But it was different. The relationship was different. There were the parents here, there were the kids here, and now it seems to have sort of, not that we're friends and we're peers, but there's communication back and forth, and because there's more open communication, there is engagement, so that I feel I'm a part of my daughter's life and her friends, or even the young adults that I've had the opportunity and blessing really to work with. Rather than just sort of, I'm older, I've been around longer than you have, I'm wiser, I have more to offer, and you can learn only from me. It's more of a two-way street now, which I just love, because for me, the number of times that I have said, that we're really only along for the ride with Milana, it's just, I can just sit back and watch her, and she just goes. And then when she needs something, she comes to us. And I'm very thankful that our relationship is such that she does come to us, because I know what I was like as a teenager. It wasn't necessarily the same.
What my parents didn't know.
And I know that there's stuff that she doesn't necessarily talk about to me, and that's fine.
Yes.
But there is a trust, and there's a mutual respect, and I learn from her every day, along with the other young adults. Not that she's the young adult yet, on her way, but the young adults, the kids that I have met who are between, say, sort of 17 to 25, who are either just at the end of high school, finishing, maybe they're going on to university or other schools. A lot of them that I've met are going to into programs where they are going to be healers or wellness practitioners of some kind, because they are looking to make the world a better place. And they want to help people heal in various ways, whether it's through holistic nutrition or traditional Chinese medicine or phytotherapy, working with plants and the energy of plants, and how we can all connect with this energy, and how we can all grow to be better and more powerful. And these kids, I mean, they don't exactly know what their careers are going to be when they get out of school. They're especially where I am here in Victoria now, a lot of them do think about money a lot, because it is expensive to live here. But I mean, community, friendship, connection with people, helping animals, and really making the world a better place is what they're all about. And they're talking about it, they're living it, they're curious about how to make that happen. And so just being surrounded by them on a daily basis and really listening to them. And then when asked, being able to offer something up or just have a conversation and say, okay, how do we all go forward from here, is fantastic.
Yeah, I've got millennials, so 29 to 35, and their friends, around that age. And it's very, very interesting of how many of them, gone back to what I call the hippie days, because I'm a 70s chick, and where it has gone back to working with the land,
Yeah.
working holistically. They hardly wear makeup. The clothes they wear, it's comfort rather over fashion. It's not dictated or driven by the money. Not to say that there aren't, many like that. But when we grew up, it was very much about get a career that's going to pay well, that can afford the picket fence, the 2.5 children and all of that. It's all about the security and the money and the growth. And now we're actually seeing our kids, it's about the consciousness.
Yeah.
It's about the consciousness of what they can contribute. And it's a beautiful thing to see. My son opened up a cafe, which is across the paddock from horses, set into the mountains. It's called Humble Roots Cafe. And it's about using all the locally sourced farmers' goods and community. And I think that is something that kids are really craving, is give me a community that I can participate with, that I can collaborate with, and let us do something for our future by investing in our land or our community now.
Yeah, and I love some of those words that you just mentioned: participation, collaboration, investment, because that really, I think, stems from this connection with community.
Yeah.
And I just kind of lost my train of thought.
It's okay. Please carry on talking. It'll thread back.
Yeah, no, it'll filter back. But it reminds me very much when I still lived in Toronto, because we still feel very new here. We only moved here about 1.5 years ago, and Toronto at this point feels like a lifetime ago. Yeah. Because so much has happened as we settle ourselves into our new best life here in Victoria. However, back in Toronto, I worked in the food business, and one of the things that we did was do farmers markets. And for about 12 years before the farmers markets, for me, it was about making the most beautiful looking, best tasting, exquisite desserts, wedding cakes, celebration cakes with incredibly high quality ingredients. Ended up going to organic, fair trade. And there was this kind of pomp and circumstance about it. But then when I went to the farmers market, and I remember my first experience there thinking, this is it. This is, and not to discount that other stuff, but for me, it woke up something in my heart and in my soul, because it was about connection with the farmers, connection with the artisanal food producers, connection with people who lived and worked off the land and created things with their hands and with their souls and with their hearts, and that loved and nourished and nurtured these crops and things that they were growing and working on and feeding us and each other. And it was just such an extraordinary experience to be part of that. And one of the reasons that we love living here so much and really look forward to moving out west was because we can garden here all year long. Like the whole year is an incredible gardening season. And so to be an urban homesteader here, in some ways is easier than it was back out east for us. And so being able to live off the land, being able to enjoy simplicity, of the land, and then, like you said, with the no makeup and just living simple lives is it's such a joy. And I think for me anyway, it feels like a privilege to be a part of that. And I love how this younger generation just really, really embraces that, and how living off the land and these sort of maybe woo-woo or hippie sort of ways of life that once upon a time were popular have come back, have come back into popularity and are now becoming bona fide ways of healing and living lives. And it's not too far out there anymore. And so I think it's great. And I love seeing that and being a part of it.
I mean, that's my generation growing up, because I'm in my 60s. There was the local grocery stores in your community. There was also the farmers market twice a week, where you went and got your local produce. And even if you didn't know the farmer that well, it was always, that connection. I love, what can I do for you today? And it was a sense of that community. And I know I use that word a lot because here in Victoria, I'm a newbie too. I've been here less than 3 months, and I'm originally from the Lower Mainland, went to Toronto, too damn cold, and then, came here to Victoria, which I've been a visitor to for almost 38 years. But since I've come here, I have noticed what a wonderful community it is. Yeah. And it's that community where everybody, no matter what their business is, it's about helping one another. And it's I think that is something very close to my heart, because we've tried doing the solo thing, haven't it? I'm an independent. I don't need anyone. And that sent the wrong message to the kids, because what we were saying to them, forget about teamwork, forget about community, forget about sharing your problems. It's always about, you've got to do it on your own. And we know that doesn't work. We need each other. We need that community. We need those conversations with people. And kids are very, very good at doing that. And we should encourage that more, because they are there to support and help one another.
Yes. Yeah, I think, and community is one of my favorite words to use as well. And I think that one of the things that I have really learned since coming here to Victoria, and part of it does have to do with the spiritual studies, and the path that I'm on right now as a spiritual practitioner and then a future minister, is not just sort of how can I contribute, how can I connect with people, but it's how can I be of service?
Yes.
And that we all, this power, this creative source energy that is flowing all over and within us, that we all are, that we have access to this incredible power. And it's not just about, oh, hey, I want a new car, so I'm going to manifest a new car. I want to live in a certain house. I want a certain job. Those things are valid. However, on the grander scheme of things, because for me, at least, I see this when I really think about consciousness and why we're here and what is my purpose and who am I and all that kind of stuff, it really does come down to how can I serve? Yeah. And so when I see younger people just sort of doing that automatically because they are passionate about helping animals, or about the environment, or about helping raise awareness for the homeless, about education, whatever it is that they're interested in, because they love helping their friends, because they love belonging, not just fitting in somewhere, but actually being connected through belonging to a community where the things that they talk about and the things that they celebrate, the things that they work through, the challenges, they resonate in this mini community or larger community of theirs. And I think that's something that we can all learn from. And I know I do. And I'm very thankful for that every day.
I did a show recently on narcissism, sociopaths and psychopaths, and it was a 3-part series, and the second part was actually narcissistic parents raising children and the detriment that can happen to that. And that, if a child is really born with a great deal of defense of self, that self-survival, they have to be taught. I mean, the caring is there, but it needs to be nurtured to develop the empathic part of the brain. And if you have that kind of narcissism where it is always about your survival, me and myself, and there isn't that learning to care about anybody else, that nurturing, that giving, this is where we end up with this problem. And then we also end up with people with so much more addiction. And I think, you hit it earlier when you said purpose. For me, if I'm not in purpose or service, then it's what am I here for? Consider a waste of space. And I think an awful lot of people that go down an addictive path, I mean, it doesn't just have to be drugs or alcohol. Addictions take on many, many different faces. But I think a lot of people go down that addictive path because they don't feel a sense of purpose or a sense of connection or a sense of being a part of something bigger than themselves. And this is something that with our children, by having them participate and interact and care right from a very young age, you're helping them discover what that purpose is, what it is that they want to stand for and pursue. So we can start it at birth, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I joke, but I don't joke. I had the absolute privilege of Milana being born at home, and we had a village there. I mean,
Yeah.
we had our naturopath, we had the main doula, the backup doula, or sorry, the doula, the main midwife, a backup midwife, and a student midwife. My mom was there, and my husband was there. And I mean, because we had this village around us, then Glenn just got to be Glenn. He just got to hold my hand and be the new dad, and not have to have a job of worrying about anything else. And we could just both sort of go with the flow. And so after 28 hours of labor, when Milana finally came into this
made
realm,
the entrance, yes.
It was after a really stormy night in the middle of the summer,
dramatic
humidity and wind and thunder and lightning and everything. And they put her on me, and she just kind of like a little frog just was ready to go and out into the world. And it's like, I got things to do, and and she's been like that ever since. And so it has been challenging for me sometimes as her parent to sort of not parent in some of the ways that I was parented in, where I might, maybe put a halt on something because it may not be, I may think it's not safe for her, or it's not, the convention kind of thing, or it's not acceptable. What will people think?
Yeah.
And that's a big one. What will people think? And for me, because that was something that I thought about a lot, and that what will people think question really sort of colored influenced many of my decisions when I was growing up. Even to this day, it's still something I work on. But I just thought, I want her to experience everything that she possibly experience, and I do not want to be the one standing in the way, squashing her spirit at any given time, because she's here. She's chosen to be here in this lifetime. She's chosen us as her parents in this, scenario that the three of us are in, with these friends she has, and the family that she has, and the support network she has. And even if she doesn't know exactly what it is that she's here for, there's no way that I want to be the one to kind of put obstacles in her way.
You don't want to curtail her in any way.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just want to be able to be here and support her to just soar and fly and go even beyond what it is she thinks her imagination, has for her right now. So it's
the challenge of being a parent, isn't it? Because my mother made the comment to me once. She said, "You're raising your children the way you would have liked to have been raised." And then on the other hand, people were saying, "But why don't you restrain your children more?" And it's like, you can't win, right? And the thing is, we've got to stop letting that other dictation. They can be guidance, but obviously there's a boundary, there's a guidance, but I taught my children that if you're going to walk the tightrope, make sure that you've got a contingency plan, or that you're prepared to fall.
Yeah.
And pay for the consequences. And they have done many a time, walked that tightrope and fallen and hit those consequences. And I used to say, while you're under my roof as my child, and even when they're not, I can do the proverbial whack you around the ears. What were you thinking? But I'm also going to help you get back up, because it was part of your life lesson. And I can just be extremely thankful that none of those lessons cost them their life. And this is the thing, is we want to protect. But if we don't educate them on how to survive life, how to thrive in life, how to walk those tightropes, we're actually setting them up to fall.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained is one thing that comes to mind. And a lot of what you just said, it resonates with me for sure. And whether, I don't know if I would think that the way that I parent Milana is the way that I would have liked to have been parented. 'Cause really, I just want her to live her best life, and I want to be able to encourage and support that. And so because there's a lot of, for all of the challenges that I went through, and a lot of the unlearning and undoing and opening my mind to other ways of thinking. I'm very thankful for all of it.
Yes.
Every single piece of it, because it was all a gift in learning what worked and how I can do better. And I know that my parents and whoever was in some kind of guidance role in my life was doing the very best that they could at the
Precisely.
time.
That was, I mean, for us, I was brought up in England. We were all sent to boarding school. I was sent to boarding school at 8 because I was a sickly child, but my brother and sister went at 5 and 6, you know, and that's the way it was.
Right.
And of course, I wasn't ever going to do that with my kids. I wanted them around me. I wanted to be a part of their life. I had a big home, and I was the extra rooms in the house for the kids that in the neighborhood that were in trouble or needed that space, or parents were having a hard time. They knew the kids could be safe at my house while they were going through the conversation. And the kids always felt safe coming to me. Yeah. Because they knew they were going to get candor, but also at the same time they knew they were going to get loving care. Yeah. And I think this is the thing is, yes, we want to teach our children, and sometimes they do need a talking to. I mean, your kid is still early. I had a boy, and I had a wild girl. So believe me, sometimes that conversation needs to be had. But if they can't feel that they can talk to you, yeah, you know, it's going to be all, you know, the proverbial whack around the head. And instead of, look, you know, that wasn't a good decision. What made you come to that decision? How can you avoid it in the future? What can we do now? Yeah. You know, these are conversations to help them understand, God, how did I do that? I got bullied into it, or somebody challenged me to do it. I didn't really want to. I didn't listen to my gut. Yeah. I listened to, you know, the pressure that I should do it. And I've always said to my kids, please, the gut is the soul. It's the divine soul speaking to you, and it resonates with your heart and your spirit, to your mind. Listen to it. Because when you deny it, that's when you fall off the wall.
Yep. And that, I mean, as who I am today, that is, I can't remember, there was something that happened just in the last couple of days where I just thought, had I just listened to myself, had I just listened to my gut, whatever you want to call it, that would have been the better way to go. I know it would have. Instead, I listened to an outside influence rather than the inner voice.
Yes.
That's in here. I listened to an outside influence, and it wasn't the right way to go. And there are countless ways that I can think of. One sort of hilarious, but it wasn't hilarious at the time, was when I had my bakery in Toronto, and we were baking chocolate cakes. And there was a time for a few years where we had students come in from George Brown or Humber, and they would be with us for 6 weeks to do their internships. And they learned, and it's in around 3-4 weeks in, there would be this like switcher that would be flipped, and all of a sudden they went from us holding their hands and sort of slowing everything down and us kind of going crazy to they're now a member of the team and everything is flowing smoothly. Well, one of those times there was someone who baked the chocolate cake at the wrong temperature or with the wrong mix of ingredients, like double the flour or something in there. And when they came out of the oven, I knew that they were wrong and just thought, we cannot sell these. And someone else in the kitchen said, oh, we'll just put more simple syrup on them. We'll just put more frosting on them and they'll moisten up and they'll be fine. And I'm thinking, no. But there's this sort of logical part of my brain that's going, but if we throw them away, it's money in the garbage.
Yes.
More money and time and whatever. And so in the end, I think we put one out against my better judgment, but ultimately I made the decision and we got a complaint. And I just thought, oh my God, if I had only listened to my gut, to my voice, to what I was feeling, not even thinking, what I was feeling, I never should have put that cake out. It's totally my own fault. And then I still had to go and spend the extra time and the extra money to go and make it up to that customer. Yes. Which turned out fine in the end because it was a loyal customer. However, it's a sort of simple example, but it's so true and it happens more often.
But, coming to kids, like when they're doing a project or a homework or something, and it's like, I don't like this, I can't hand this in, but, it's so much work, I can't do it over again. And it's like, you know what? If you cannot give this with a calm heart and a peace of mind, don't do it, because it'll come back to haunt you. It's not representing what you really want to say. It's okay to scrap it and then just really dive into what you really want to do. Go with the flow, go with the heart, go with the spirit. And then it is, this is what I wanted. But we're so kind of pressurizing in, but no, you've just got to perfect that. Sometimes throw it out, start again. And I think it's okay for the kids to know it's okay to start again. It's okay to scrap something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay to ask for help.
Yes.
And it's okay to say, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Can you show me? Can you help me? Can you explain it better? And we've had those experiences with Milana, who is a very good student. We rarely need to remind her about doing her homework. She manages her time very well. However, there have been times now in middle school, and then when she was in grade 5 and 6, learning new things, especially in math, where things were challenging, or she had what she felt was a lot of homework, and she would get very flustered, and she would get to the point where she would ask for help, but she was already kind of working herself up into a lather. So the help wasn't exactly welcome. And then she'd get upset. And then invariably it would end up being, you know what, just go to your teacher. Your teacher is there to support you.
Yeah.
And just talk to your teacher. Explain what's going on. If you need more clarification, ask your teacher. That's what they're there for. And there would just be this sort of release
about take the pressure off.
Yeah. And I remember that pressure very well, because I grew up in a family where it was all about achievement and being first and getting 100 and getting the A+. And so anything less than was less than. It was either perfect or you were less than. And so that's one of the things really that I have been very mindful of with our daughter, because I do remember what that felt like. And even though it was great to win and come in first and get the hundreds and be a top A achiever, sometimes really it's usually not even sometimes, it's just as much about the journey and the experience as it is about the end result.
Right.
So,
I'm going to hit on something you said of less than. A conversation I had with someone who basically was told, you're a dummy. You're never going to learn. And quite essentially, she just half the time missed school and, didn't get the education. And then later on, it was like, but why am I a dummy? I want to get the education. And she became self-educated. And it's like, we have to be very, very careful as adults of what we put on a child. And especially today, we have so many indigo children, autistic children, which I think are gifted, and many other kids that learn in different ways. And we cannot impose the old paradigm of learning on a child that has opened up to different channels, opened up to different ways of receiving knowledge. I was never expected to achieve anything. Out of 12 years of school, I only completed 6 because I was a very sickly child. And it was just really, let's just hope she makes a good marriage, because, we don't expect much more from her than that. And so I had the low expectations. But in one part of me, it just didn't bother me, because anything I did achieve was always higher than they expected of me anyway. So I had the reverse pressure. But the other thing I think in what we do with our kids is that we're not teaching them to listen to their instincts or to connect with the knowledge. I'm always saying, don't think it, feel it. Let the knowledge be felt, and then you'll actually understand its purpose. And I think we have to be very, very mindful today, as a parent, as teachers, as society as a whole. Stop trying to box our children up with a pretty bow and say that's the only way to learn. Because our children can absorb knowledge a hell of a lot faster than we could. And they can assimilate it a lot faster. They can articulate it in different ways. And very, very, I think what's happening a lot with the school system is that teachers don't know how to teach these kids now because of the way that they're learning.
That's really interesting. We have been fortunate enough to have, for Milana to have gone to through Montessori. And she's actually, from when she was 3 years old, and then she'll be finishing grade 8 at the end of this summer or spring. And then next year into high school, she's going into public school. And it was her decision, just as it was her decision to stay in Montessori when we moved here. Um, and and so she has decided, even though she's finally kind of getting settled where she is in her new school with her new friends and deeper relationships and connections, that she wants to go to the school she's going to be going to because it has such an amazing musical arts and performing arts program, which is something that's very important and near and dear to her. And she likes the idea of not wearing a uniform anymore.
Right.
And the school is about 5 minutes away from home versus half an hour from home. So there's just there, and it is a very, very good school academically as well. But the performing arts part is a big, big, big draw for her. And so she's nervous, but she's very excited about this. And we're excited because it's going to be very different from what all of us have experienced together over the last 9 years or 11 years. And so the thing there is that that's going to be a whole new experience. But what she has been a part of over, especially in the 2 years that she's been here, is that there are kids in her class who have various learning challenges and who get extra help. So it's already a Montessori school where younger kids work with older kids. The older kids mentor the younger ones. They work together as a community, as a society. They problem solve together. They do assignments together. They go on outings together. And they're learning the stuff that kids learn in public school and in other school systems. And then there are the kids that need extra help, and they get the extra help in the ways that they need it, that works for them. Because just like you said, not everybody learns in the same way or even at the same rate. I mean, I remember in high school, I did not want to be there. Academically, I was so strong up until the end of junior high. And then I kind of went as one of the smartest kids in the junior high school that I was in to the high school where all the smart kids went in Edmonton, and it was very tiny. And all of a sudden, I just felt like I was one of the dumbest kids in the whole school. And it was awful. And I just thought, I don't want to be here. I want to play music. I want to do artsy, creative stuff. And this is all about people doing math and physics and science, and everybody is learning at the same pace in the same way with the same textbooks and the same tests. And I think that education has changed over the decades.
It's changing. It hasn't completely changed it, but it's changing because it has to.
Yeah.
You know, it has to, because the kids that they've got are demanding, in their own beautiful, innocent way, for teachers to look at the way they're teaching.
Yeah. Yeah.
The system has to change. I mean, we have so many children that are gifted now. I mean, a 9-year-old writing a book, and just was her first interview, and she's since gone on to do many, many interviews and just held her own, very articulate. We see other kids, being interviewed or standing up for something, and you go, wow. At that age, what was I doing? There's this young guitarist, which they call the new Jimi Hendrix. He's 13, 14. The way he plays is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I call that channeling.
Yes. I agree.
They have opened up to that beautiful divine source, divine energy, and they're channeling in this ability, that knowingness, to be at one with their instrument, at one with their knowledge, and allow it to take them where they need to go. Where society is very dictatorial on where you should go and why you should go. That needs to be thrown out. We need to allow. We need to nurture. It's trying to, plant the seeds in the garden and dictate how they should grow. Let's just water them and see what happens.
Yeah, that's right. If you keep sort of, if they start to sprout and then you go and like, oh, is it growing? Is it growing? Well, then that's it. It's done.
Yes. Pulling at the roots. Are you done yet? No, you've just weakened the roots.
That's it. I love that. Allowing, surrendering, that, and I don't often use the word divine, but I do feel that is just being in connection with the divine, whatever you want to call it, God, source, universe, whatever. It just, that's it. And when we don't think, and when we feel, like you said, and we are really truly connected, then that is when this incredible power just comes through from within. And that is when people are moved, whether it be music or art or poetry or nature or whatever it is that someone can offer in its purest, most powerful form, that's an extraordinary gift right there.
Right.
For all of us.
I mean, we know that, I'm always talking about people knowing what their gift is. I call it your instrument. What's your instrument? And, when you've discovered what your instrument is and you learn to play it, then you're ready to join the orchestra. And in that orchestra, you become part of that harmony, that symphony that then resonates out to everyone else with that beautiful message. But every single one of us is given a gift. Well, and it's not my gift is bigger than yours.
Yep.
It is, what is our divine purpose? That is our gift. That is our contribution. That is also part of the solution to our planetary needs, our humanity needs. And if we stop dictating of what people should be, you've got to be a doctor, you've got to be a lawyer, you don't count unless you're a six-figure. Why don't we just say, be the beautiful you and step into your purpose?
Yeah.
And that's where the abundance and the enrichment is. The money will follow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just reminds me, and I think of this from time to time, when Milana was a toddler, she loved cleaning. And so she...
That doesn't last, does it?
Actually, with her, it has.
It has. Wonderful. You're lucky.
1.5, teeny tiny, because she was a pint-sized little peanut. She would be at the oven door with a cloth, just kind of moving back and forth. And then when she got old enough, she had a tiny broom in the kitchen and she would use it. And then she just said one day, Mom, and she would tell me in Ukrainian, because we spoke mostly Ukrainian back then. And she said, Mama, I've decided what I want to be when I grow up. And I said, what? And she said, a cleaner. And she said it with so much love.
Right.
And it just, like, I'm still kind of have tears in my eyes right now, because it was so pure.
Yeah.
There were no, I can't think of the word that I'm thinking of, no airs or anything, nothing connected to it. It was just, this is how I want to serve.
Yes.
And we tell some people that, and they'd kind of go, huh? And then other people would be, oh, that's so beautiful. It's changed over the years.
But that's the point. This is the thing, is that why can't we allow them to explore?
Yeah.
I want to be a cleaner today. I want to be a rocket scientist tomorrow. Yeah. It's not like, well, no, you can't be that because it's not going to pay enough, or it's not distinguished enough. Be whatever you feel you can be, because it's only through that navigation that they actually discover who they really are and what their purpose really is. So we must not deny them. We must celebrate every single statement that they make like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And now the thing that she wants to do is she wants to be a Montessori teacher. And I know that has everything to do with her experience, her amazing, wonderful, powerful, nurturing experience that she has had over the years, most of her lifetime, with all of her teachers and her peers, and the way that she got to learn and find things that she's interested in. And she actually, for March break, went back to Toronto, and that's where she did her grade 8 work internship, helping out the little ones, and getting a feel for what it might be like to actually spend some time sort of, not as a student, but the one who's guiding the students. And so maybe that's where it'll stay. Maybe it'll change into something else. Who knows?
Well, my own daughter at the age of 27 went back to university, because up until then she was still exploring life.
Yep.
She had some passions, she had some abilities. She's a fantastic artist. She has an ability to see people's core, know who they are from the inside out. That ability's been with her all her life.
Yeah.
But she hadn't found her niche yet, where to apply it. And so she's just finishing up her social work degree and wants to go and do a master's and everything. And we've had conversations about this, and I said, you'll do some coaching, but that's not where you're going to stay, because she's an activist, an advocate, and she's going to be one of those ones that sees a broken system and is going to get up and start fighting for it, because that's her nature.
Yeah.
And along with that nurture of how she wants to apply it. And my other son, 33, when he's opened up, redirected and opened up his own restaurant, my 35-year-old is a butterfly. She literally travels the world, pollinating people's lives, leaving them in bloom, and everybody remembers Tabitha wherever she goes.
Yeah.
And she just brings about joy. That could just be her purpose, but what a wonderful purpose to have.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds lovely.
Yes.
And I think it's amazing when people actually are given the space to be able to
Yeah.
discover that and nurture that. Because I know what my experience was like, where there was this incredible pressure of decide, no, go to
Yes.
university. And okay, if you want to say that you're going into and getting a BA, you know, to the beginning, you better make a decision at the end of that first year to specialize in something, because a BA isn't good enough.
Right.
And for me, it resulted in me leaving
Yeah.
university because I didn't want to be there in the first place.
Right.
But because of that, that's how I discovered the community and campus radio, and it ended up in that for several years, which ended up leading me to Toronto, because I thought I wanted to go to Ryerson, but then realized, no, I really don't. And eventually ended up where I am now. And it wasn't until I heard the call to ministry last year that finally, you know, almost halfway through life, I realized this is why I'm here. There have been all these amazing steps and experiences leading up to here, and some of them have felt pretty monumental,
Right.
and important and significant. But this, to feel like I am here to teach humanity, or not teach, inspire humanity to live from love, not fear, through ministry, however that ends up unfolding, that's incredible. And I'm so thankful.
And this is the thing is whether your daughter knows she's on that path right now and she pursues that path, who's to say that's going to be her forever path?
Yeah.
You know, we've taken paths. You know, I am a spiritual counselor. I'm a soul awakener. I have been for many, many lifetimes, and this is always what I'm here to do. But, you know, it was still kind of woo-woo, or, well, she's weird, or anything else. And it's only really in the last 6 years that we've seen that conversation being more embraced and more welcomed, and more inquisitiveness about it. You know, the ignition of the soul and the heart and the connection. And there is more conversation about it. But it's 6 years ago that I started doing radio and started interviewing other people who are in that awakening process, or had been like me along to, you know, many, many years, this cosmic being having a human life, and realizing we're not alone. Because before that, we didn't have that avenue. And, you know, I know you're a part of a spiritual church, and you've stepped into now yourself, your soul, your heart connection, and you now know what you need to do. 10 years ago, had you been offered that, you may not have seen it. So this is the thing we have to again allow our process of life. But with our children, why do they have to wait until they're 40, 50, or 60 before they get there? I think they're going to get to their purpose so much faster. And the more that we just stop dictating what they should be and watering what they are, you know, I think the faster they're going to step into their purposes, that we'll have more of a fluid link.
Yeah, I'm looking, because there was a questionnaire that I sent out to a bunch of friends of mine that I young friends that I worked with at the first job that I had here. And I kind of I wanted millennials, and I wanted to get to know them better. I wanted to get to know what they were interested in, what they were concerned about, what they were passionate about. And one of the questions that I asked was, do you sometimes feel lost or confused, like you don't know where to go or where you belong? And one of the answers that I got, they were all so juicy. It was so amazing. They offered up so much. One of them said that every day of my life, blah, 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 blah. However, I no longer feel like I'm falling behind in life, because I realize we are all running a different race with a different finish line.
Yeah.
19 years old.
Yeah.
And for me, I think maybe I really only kind of discovered that in the last couple of years.
You entered the right race.
So I, you know, whether you call it perspective, awakening, connection, whatever it is, I'm very thankful that there are young people around like that are so much more in tune and haven't, you know, put the blinders on or whatever it is, or the wall, the gray, whatever analogy, metaphor you want to use, because these are the newer generations that are helping to affect this incredible shift in consciousness all over the world. And even with all of the stuff that looks yucky and hard and challenging and painful, and and how can that go on in this side of the world when this is how we live on this side of the world. I think if we step back and we look at what is going on as a whole, that really we are living in such an incredible time, because there is so much positivity and so much growth and so much hope.
So much possibility.
Infinite potentiality that is available to us, that is happening right now. And that's really exciting.
Well, look at the kids that are walking out of school saying, there was, to do with the guns.
Yeah.
And there was one senator is saying, well, I think all kids should learn CPR, so when this happens, you know how to rescue someone. And the one guy said, it's very hard to give CPR to someone with a bullet to their head, and it's down to the facts. The point is, they don't want guns in their school because they don't want people to have access to those guns. And it's, the beautiful thing about all of that is the fact that these kids are saying, look, adults, I'm sorry, this is my future you're talking about. If I can't go to school and feel safe, then, what is up with that? You're protecting your guns over my rights as a child to learn. And I am so excited to see these kids step out and say, no, because this old paradigm is, children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Well, what age was it that you suddenly had a voice? Was it university when you had a degree or you got that first job? I'm so happy for kids now of all ages to have a voice, because the more we empower that voice, the more we're actually giving them those leadership skills. Yes. Let us not forget, they are our future leaders.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful way to, wonderful is not the right word, but it reminds me of sort of Western medicine and dealing with symptoms versus functional medicine, which gets to the root. And sort of, tries to, a plant, like if it has yellow leaves and withering branches and stuff, sure, you can pluck off all the yellow leaves and withering branches. But if you don't go and see, is it being overwatered? Are the roots rotting? Are they squished? Is it not getting enough light? What's happening? If you don't get to it's going to keep happening with the yellow leaves and the branches. And so I think, we're so fortunate to be living here where gun violence is not nearly as prevalent as it is in the States. To know, though, that there are kids and there are whole towns in the States that are coming at these, this situation doesn't even cover it, but for lack of a better term, this situation, these circumstances, that they're coming from a place of love versus let's have more guns, let's have security guards, let's have metal detectors, let's have people frisked, all that kind of stuff.
More fear.
That's very encouraging. That's coming saying, no, this is what we want, this is what we need. I can't remember which town it was, and I can't remember which shooting it was, but it was one of the big shootings with little kids,
a new town.
I cannot remember what I.
Somebody who's listening is shouting at us. Thank you.
What I do remember, though, is that the town came together. Yeah. And they have this sign at their town entrance or something that has to do with love. The town is built on love or something like that. But what struck a chord in me was how all the mothers of the kids and in the town came together and they sat together. There wasn't any kind of organized event or agenda or anything. They just sat together and they felt together and they grieved together and they loved together. And they felt their way through this horrific occurrence. And found their way with love. Yeah. And
they didn't have a hate fest, they had a love fest, right? Because love heals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I've interviewed people who have lost their children, from various circumstances, either murder or, health or suicide or silly accidents that literally took one guy's 3 children and wife. And it's how they rose above it, how they worked through it. And the big word was forgiveness.
Yes.
Right? You know, how can you step into love? You know, one of them was a pastor, and it was a drunk driver that killed his pregnant wife and 2 children. And he himself was injured. And he said, how, and everybody wanted to tour and quarter the kid, right? They actually made a movie out of it called Let It Go. And he said, how can I stand up there and be a pastor and say forgiveness? If you want to find love in your heart, you have to be forgive. That doesn't mean you condone the action.
Yeah.
But if you don't find the forgiveness, it's always going to haunt you. You will step
Yeah.
into hate.
Yeah.
And he said, how can I stand there and do that and not find forgiveness for this kid?
Yeah.
Because if I don't, it's going to eat me up. And I'm a mother of 3. I would hope I could find that same strength and courage.
Yeah.
I would hope I could, but one doesn't know until you're in that situation, and I never intend to be in that situation. You hear me, universe? But this is the thing, isn't it? Is that power of love isn't like, oh, I'm just choosing to love. It's a feeling that comes from forgiveness, from giving it up to the universe, to God, to allowing yourself to go through the pain, to go through the process, but choosing to forgive and love instead. And it's when you go through the process and you step out the other side into that love, it is so elevating.
Yeah.
That it's truly supreme.
Yeah, there's a whole other show right there on
Yes.
forgiveness. That's a big one to
We
cover.
have one coming up this week as well on forgiveness. Absolutely, yeah, because it's a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one, and ultimately, no matter what the circumstance, no matter who was involved, no matter how long ago, ultimately, who we're forgiving is ourselves, and that. I had some recent the opportunity to deal with that myself when I took a course through the Center for Spiritual Living Toronto, which is where we used to belong, on forgiveness. And the book that we learned from that we were using for the course was by Bishop Desmond Tutu and his daughter Umpo Tutu, the book on forgiveness, I think. Yeah. And it's such an amazing book with such incredible stories of people working through whatever it is their circumstances were. I mean, even hers, with her housekeeper being killed, and just sort of even where people were right when the things that happened, and how so many of them had to work through so many different emotions that are sort of negative, if you will, to get to the being able to let go and see the love and light and beauty in the person or parties that may have wronged them, and how ultimately a lot of them ended up working together to then go and tell and share this story to inspire other people to live from love and to just forgive everything. Forgive everything and not hold on to anger or hate or because it's fear. And it's paralyzing. It is. That's it. And just to let it go, to be free. And I mean, there's Byron Katie's work that I'm thinking of, which is like, the thing happened. It happened once, and then we are the ones that keep torturing ourselves.
The worrying the soul, right? It's not going to heal if you keep rubbing it. Yeah.
So big conversation.
Yes, exactly. But I think also with our kids today, we've still got that paradigm of the kids that are still living purely on their phones with the credit cards, the plastic life. I mean, there's still those kids that are doing that, but I am seeing so much more of the conscious awoken kids. And whether it's awoken to what we call soul and spirit and heart, they may not dialogue it that same way, but what they're doing in their interaction with life, the way they treat each other, the way they see the planet, how they want to contribute, is the action of love, is the action of God. They just may not articulate it in that way, but we're seeing it so much more, aren't we? And I think it's our kids that are the peacekeepers of the future.
Yes, absolutely. What was it? What's the Dalai Lama quote? What is it about? Teaching kids to meditate, and that we would wipe out in a generation, we would wipe out all war, whatever, that we would be living in a world of peace. And so, I mean, there is that. However, I think, yes, because there are so many kids now, because there is this shift that is happening where kids are just, they're believing in themselves. They're believing in the power that they are. They're believing in that they are capable of anything and everything. And it's not out of naivete. It is, they're connected, they're grounded in who they are.
Right.
And having these powerful generations coming up and living this truth, just on a moment by moment, day by day basis, and however it is expressing through them, like you just said, you know, through their friendships, whatever it is that they do, the way they treat each other. It's such a powerful lesson and really a powerful mirror for those of us for whom it's taken a much longer time to sort of remember and connect, because we are all connected and we are all reflections of each other. So when I look at my daughter, when I look at her friends, when I look at these young adults that I have met and connected with and bonded with since moving here to Victoria, it just really warms and opens up my heart so much, because there really is, there's this hope, and there is movement, and there is shift, and it's all for the better, and it's all from love and this extraordinary creativity that everyone is nurturing. Even if they don't know it, I think they're still so much more aware than I was at their age, for sure.
They've stepped into that consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, they've stepped into that love vibration. You know, in the 70s, we were talking about the good vibrations. I actually have Robert Williams on this week from the Beach Boys on forgiveness, actually. And, you know, that song, The Good Vibrations, you know, is very apropos. And what we are talking about is that vibrational living. You know, we're talking about a frequency of harmony and of love and respect for one another, to get out there and help one another, because in helping someone else is helping your community, which then helps you.
Yes.
And, you know, we're seeing that naturally happen. It's just they're just not calling it this or calling it that, but they're actually living it, which is wonderful. Now, please tell people about the work that you do with kids. And obviously the platform that you've built and where you're wanting to take it.
Okay, well, it's still very new for me, because I am transitioning from this sort of one lifetime, this one career that I had going on for about 20 years to this spiritual path right now. I'm really excited about it, though, and it's all stemming from my evolving ministry, which really kind of happened when I was working at the first job that I had in a grocery store when we moved here to Victoria. And I just ended up connecting with all of these young kids, many of whom were in school. A lot of them are actually at Pacific Rim College, whether it's holistic nutrition, traditional Chinese medicine, the phytotherapy, what have you. So many of them are educating themselves and looking at being a vehicle for change, being someone who can be some kind of practitioner to help people be better, to help them heal, and to do it in ways that are more natural and holistic and not dependent on the old paradigms, if you will. Yet they still think about things like, you know, will I be making $11 for the rest of my life?
Right.
How can I live in one of the most beautiful places on earth and can't afford to buy a house? You know, is this all there is? And then the fentanyl crisis that is here is, I mean, everyone that I sent this questionnaire out to, everyone knows someone who has overdosed. Everyone knows someone who, whether it's accidental or not. One of our close friends over a lifetime, who we kind of got disconnected from, but who we had been reconnected with, Michael Stone, an incredible Buddhist teacher and psychologist, who died of an accidental fentanyl crisis when he was trying to self-medicate last year for depression. It's horrific. So there's some heavy stuff that these kids are thinking about. However, they are also just really focused on animal welfare, on saving the environment, on living and connecting with the outdoors, on living off the land, on eating organic food, on being healthy.
Being a vegan.
And yeah, and so that's very inspiring to me. What started happening though was they started coming to me and asking me for help with their resumes, for letters, for helping them get another job or advice kind of thing. And I kind of felt like this older sage that was working with all these teenagers and young 20-somethings. And they were also really fascinated by everything that I was studying in my practitioner studies courses. And so we'd have these awesome talks about consciousness and expansion of consciousness and opening of the heart and
Oop, got a little loop here. I'm going to be right back, folks. Sorry, just a little hiccup in the internet here. Hopefully we'll get it back in a moment. This is what happens. The vibrational internet sometimes works on a different vibration than we do. And hopefully she'll be back with us in a moment. Stepping into what children are today, really acknowledging them, helping them actually in their self-discovery and where they want to go and what they want to do is very, very important, because it is that is our future. Now it looks like I may have lost her for a moment, and I'm not quite sure how to get it back. So I am going to be right back, folks, and bring her back to finish off the show. And we're back, folks. She had a wonderful frozen pose, and she likes camera action. And we are back, and she was in mid-conversation about what she is doing with kids, writing their resumes and helping them find their direction in the holistic world. So if you would just continue a little bit about that, love, and what you're doing to help the kids, where you would like to go with this, and also how people can get hold of you.
Yeah, well, essentially what came out of that experience that I had working with all of these amazing, creative, super enthusiastic people was that I realized that, and actually it was our minister who said, this is your evolving ministry. And I thought, oh, okay, that's not what I thought it would look like, but thank you, universe, because this is actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I have a project that I'm working on, which is called Triple C Ministry. And the Triple C part of it is consciousness, creativity, and conversation. And what it is my intention to do now that I have gathered all of this information from these young kids that I reached out to is to put together one evening a week where we can get together and engage with each other and talk about what consciousness means to this younger generation, and then sort of augment it, nourish it, fan the flames, the creative flames, if you will, with all kinds of creativity. And one of my favorite ways to do that is music.
Yes.
I grew up, it's a huge part of my life. And so to have live music, local artists, sort of whether it's dance, sing together, move. I'm a big believer in moving our bodies and sort of freedom of creative expression through movement and dance, and to do it in a way that kids can really relate to and that is meaningful for them. So not so much the sort of older school thinking of going to church on Sunday, there's the minister at the lectern, there's the congregation in the audience, but to maybe have a little 5-10 minute power talk on the topic of the day that is chosen by the community, and then to have music and link it all together and to have people come up and share about their experiences and what it means to them. And if it involves problem solving, let's do it together so that we can keep building and fostering this incredibly joy and love. I'm okay at this. So my business is changing. The best way to get in touch, though, and to stay abreast of what's going on is my Facebook page, which I don't have the link for in front of me because my screen just went big, but I know it's my name, Lesia Kohut, and then I think it's /HHC.
Yep, I'm going to give people it right now. And let me just get to it. Yes, it's Facebook. Lesia, L-E-S-E, L-E-S-I-A-C, let me start again. Lesia Kohut, and then H-H-C.
Okay.
So you can catch her there, and just her name on Twitter, and on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah. The rest of it is just my name: Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn. I can't even remember all the different, but everything else is just at Lesia Kohut, and that's it.
Right. And of course, I know that you're looking at doing this interactively here in Victoria with the kids, but of course there is a great opportunity through Zoom, through Skype, through other things of reaching out to kids anywhere, because if anybody's listening to this and likes what you're saying, you're not just limiting yourself just to Victoria, are you? Although,
no, that's
people can play musical instruments anywhere.
Yeah, no, that's a big part of it, because this is also a way to showcase some of our amazing local talented musicians, right? And artists and poets and whoever is out there to share. So yeah, I love the way that we can reach out to everyone now through these different platforms like Zoom.
Yes, exactly. And just videoing an event and then sharing it out to the world as an inspiration. I mean, this is the beauty of it. One of my favorite videos is actually somebody who put a fantastic, they're actually an Indian couple, and they put a fantastic video together of kids saying, We Are the World, Michael Jackson's song.
Yep.
And he has different singers and performers and musical instruments from around the world of kids singing this and putting it together. And it is absolutely beautiful. Not only such talent and such beauty, but what a wonderful way of doing it. And it's so invitational.
Yeah, absolutely.
So wonderful. Well, I thank you so much for being with us here today and sharing your passion and your conviction. And, kids are out of the closet, folks. It's no more about, should be seen and not heard. No, we must hear them. We must see them. We must feel them. We must love and nurture them, because yes, they are our future leaders, and we want better leadership than we've been having in the past, that's for sure. But also, what a gift they are to us and what they teach us.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I am so thankful for my own daughter, for her community, for every single person I get to meet, especially for the youth though, because that for me is where the inspiration is. And I'm just so excited to see how everything unfolds and what kind of world unfolds while I'm still around in this lifetime, part of this experience, to, sort of soak it all in. So I'm grateful for every single one of them, and for everything that is coming our way for us all.
They are not aliens, folks. I know sometimes that behavior might be so, but they're not, And if we allow ourselves to open up that conversation and listen to them, we would actually just find out how beautifully profound they are and what they have to contribute. And it's a beautiful world with kids in it, absolutely a beautiful world. And it's time that we shed that light on them and interacted and listened and nurtured and loved, because they're awesome.
They are, and they have so much to teach us.
Yes. And we've got to be willing to learn. Get off that high horse, I'm the adult. No. Listen, learn, and then do it together, right?
Yes. Agreed.
Well, thanks so much for being with us here today, Levin. And certainly, folks, if you've got a kid, go out and hug one. If you haven't, go and hug your neighbor's kid. Acknowledge them. Ask them a question. Ignite a conversation. Stop dismissing them. Start being interactive, and you will actually find out there's so much you're going to discover about yourself and the world around you by communicating and interacting with our kids at any age. So thank you very much. And to everyone else, until next time, bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.